Good evening and welcome everyone to the council meeting. With my chaplain, the Reverend Nathan Kiaga, please open the meeting with a prayer. This also allows time for personal reflection before we start the business of the meeting.
Christmas, oh Christmas, Christmas is coming, Lord, yet little cause for cheer. Is there any point in the tinsel and glitter? Will there be any coming together? What of the funny foible and quirkiness that drive us to distraction? The silly jokes and games, the overspend, overfeed, overindulged, that have made Christmas Christmas, with so much stripped away. Bring us back to the heart of Christmas, when love became incarnate. May the flame of the Christmas lantern illuminate our minds, and the love that came down at Christmas fill our hearts. May the angels that sang of peace and goodwill bless again the earth. May they give to each one cup of kindness, one measure of joy, and stir up in us Christmas cheer. For the love of the one who gave Christmas its name, Jesus Christ our Lord. For those having this as a first anniversary of a loss, a separation, those filled with fear, trepidation, disappointment, others filled with an abundance. May the news of the angels fill your life and your heart with great joy. May the star that guided the wise lead you to the truth of understanding here in this meeting. May the witness of the shepherds affirm you in the message of the gospel. May the sound of the incarnate word bring you peace and hope. May the presence of the sacred baby remind you of your own holiness. And may this Christmas gift that is you bless Torbay, bless this community, comfort others, inspire this generation, renew our community, and bring our journey into the new year with courage, candor, and a resolve to make this place better than we found it. In Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Nathan. Please be seated. The purpose of this meeting is to deal with a number of major issues for the well-being of Torbay and best interest of the community. My role as Civic Mayor is to ensure that today's agenda is dealt with efficiently and to allow fairness throughout the discussions. As you are aware, the meeting is governed by strict procedures and standing orders. If members wish to make a point of order or personal explanation, please press your button and stand up, and I will consider on a case-by-case basis when I take these. If members wish to leave the meeting before it's finished, please follow Standing Order A25.7 and give your apologies before you leave via the Head of Governance Support. Please note that we are live streaming this meeting via the Council's YouTube channel to encourage more people to engage in our public meetings. The proceedings of the Council meeting will be also recorded. Please can attendees refrain from watching the live stream, as this will cause interference for our viewers. We are not expecting any fire alarm testing today, but in the event of an evacuation, you will hear a recorded message requesting you to evacuate the building. Please leave by the nearest exit. The Riviera Centre staff will assist you. Once outside, please assemble in front of the tennis courts to the seaward side of the building. Please also ensure that all mobile phones and iPads are turned to silent. Apologies. Are there any apologies for absence, please?
Madam Mayor, we do have a couple of apologies. So we have apologies from Councillor Harvey, Councillor Nicolau, Councillor Law, Councillor Tolshard and Councillor Madison, and we've also been advised that Councillor Verdi will be arriving slightly late this evening. Other than that, Madam Mayor, all members are in attendance.
Thank you. I propose that the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the Council held on the 20th of November 2025 be signed as a correct record. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. I will now take the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. That's unanimous. Thank you. Have members any non-pecuniary or disclosable pecuniary interest in any of the matters on today's agenda? Would members please ensure that they also declare their interest? I don't need to do that. Have officers any personal interest or on any of the matters of today's agenda? I am pleased to introduce long service recognition for both councillors and officers at this evening's meeting. This evening I will be presenting certificates to councillors who have completed 10 years service and officers who have completed 20 years service. The number of certificates I am presenting this evening demonstrates the incredible dedication to public service in Torbay. Would the Chief Executive please join me in presenting these certificates?
Madam Mayor, dealing or presenting the certificates for members first. So firstly to Councillor Darren Cowell in terms of 10 years of service as a local councillor. Congratulations. And Councillor Amanda Darling, also for 10 years of service.
Congratulations, Amanda.
Amanda. Councillor Tyreman, 10 years of service.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And members also, and the Civic Mayor cannot present the certificate to herself, but she also has 10 years of service, members, so please join me in. Thank you. Members, we also have some staff colleagues with us this evening who have completed 20 years of service. So firstly to Barbara Ashplant for 20 years of dedicated service. Members, Barbara's also collecting the certificate for a colleague, Lisa Russell, who's unable to be with us this evening. Well done. And then the last certificate for staff is to Joanne Beer for 20 years of dedicated service. Definitely not old enough.
I would have said the same. Congratulations.
Take care.
I am proud to announce that Torquay in Bloom has been awarded the Gold National Britain in Bloom Award. This achievement places us among the very best in the country and is a true celebration of our town's beauty, sustainability and community spirit. Our success wouldn't have been possible without the incredible efforts of the volunteers, schools, local businesses and partners, and of course the dedication of Swissco gardening team. Also, Torbay Council through Operation Brighter Bay. I welcome Tim Ely, Torquay in Bloom Partnership, Mark Hackett, Service Manager Parks and Amenities, Laura Goff, Parks Team Manager, who are representing everyone involved to this evening's meeting. Please come forward to the dais so I can present you with the award.
Congratulations. If you would like to, yes.
I'd just like to say I've been involved in volunteering in Torbay now, well, for well over 25 years, believe it or not. I was around when Bob Sweet was winning this sort of thing, and it's taken me the last sort of 25 years, 26 years, to get back to that position that Torquay is once again at the top of the tree where it belongs. Having gone and picked the award up in Brighton, I did have a stroll around the front at Brighton and everything, and I can assure you that Torquay in particular looks fantastic in comparison with what I saw in Brighton. The Grand Hotel was great, but once you walked around, Torquay is fantastic. So don't believe all you read or see on Facebook. And the future also is looking very bright. Over the next couple of years, there's more to follow.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone that the Civic Carol service is on Sunday, the 14th, this Sunday. It's at 3:30 at St Paul's Church, and all members have been invited. I would like to, a lot of members actually have said they are coming. Thank you very much. But I would just like to reiterate that and say, please, if you can come, it would be lovely to have you there. It's going to be quite a full afternoon. We have Unleashed theatre company there, our own St Paul's Choir, and we have the leader of the council playing on the organ as well. And we also have the best coffee in Preston. So you are most welcome. Thank you. Has the leader of the council any announcements he wishes to make?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to provide an update on two very positive developments for the Bay. First one is Paignton Zoo. As members will know, Libema, which is a respected Dutch leisure and attractions operator, will take on the commercial running of Paignton Zoo and its sister site in Newquay from early January. Their experience in conservation-led attractions and high-quality visitor engagement makes this a hugely encouraging step for one of Torbay's most important institutions. This partnership will help secure the zoo's long-term future, protect jobs, and strengthen its role in our local economy. I want to thank everyone at Wild Planet Trust and all the zoo staff for their continued dedication during this transition period. Secondly, our Bay of Lights programme continues to go from strength to strength. The ice skating rink is fully operational and already attracting great interest. Indeed, I had the opportunity to test the ice out myself last Friday. And while it certainly wasn't a Torval and Dean moment, it was caught on film. And for those of you who enjoy a bit of festive humour, it is now live on my YouTube channel, Torbay Dave. It really showcases, though, what a brilliant addition the rink is to our winter offer. And I do want to mention that ticket sales are extremely strong, with several sessions close to selling out, some already sold out. So I would encourage residents, families and visitors to book early to avoid disappointment. And just to wrap up, both of these developments demonstrate the energy and the ambition that we're bringing to Torbay, strengthening our visitor offer, boosting our economy and creating memorable experiences for our community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I understand the Overview and Scrutiny Coordinator and the Chief Executive have no announcements they wish to make. I move to item 6, members' questions. The questions and answers have been circulated and are noted as submitted. Members, these are available on your iPads under Late Reports Pack. I have accepted an urgent question submitted by Councillor Steve Darling, and I will ask for any supplementary questions after. For those members asking for a supplementary question, it must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. May I remind members that supplementary questions shall not include a statement. I will be interrupting if I consider your supplementary question is a statement. Please note that there is a time limit of 1 minute to ask a supplementary question. The response time for each supplementary question is 3 minutes, and the overall maximum time for members' questions is 30 minutes. I refer to the urgent question in respect of security and screening measures of those who enter the UK via cargo or similar vessels. Councillor Steve Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I do have a supplementary question, and it is this, that at a time when Russia has a very adversarial posture towards the United Kingdom, would you agree, would the chairman of the Harbour Authority agree with me that it is incumbent upon all Harbour Authority staff to be vigilant?
Thank you. Councillor Strang, please provide a response.
Thank you, Councillor Darling. Yes, I would agree with yourself. However, this is a matter of national security, which is dealt with not within our Harbours team, but on behalf of the Harbours team and the committee, this being a matter of national security dealt with by the central government, I'd request any ongoing assistance that you can offer as the MP in dealing with the Home Secretary on this issue. I should also like to take this opportunity, while I rise to speak, to thank the senior Harbours team and all their staff for the improvement in the condition and tidiness of our harbours noted over the past year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I refer to question 1 in respect of promoting pension credit uptake. Councillor Steve Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you. I do have a supplementary question. The response appeared to only address ways that the local authority were alerting the local community. I'd be really grateful if the member could expand on how they have been working with the Department of Work and Pensions. Thank you.
Councillor Tranter, please provide a response.
I'd have to consult with the director on that, because with regards to the question, I don't think there has been direct working with them. We've been working with anybody who didn't get the winter fuel payment, with people who have appeared to unclaim entitlement to pension credits, and that's how we've been finding people. But I will speak to the director and get back to you about that. Thank you.
Thank you. I refer to question 2 in respect of the number of new dwellings available at social rent levels during the previous administration. Councillor Spicania, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do. Thank you, Councillor Timon, for your answer and providing the information on housing delivery. It is disappointing that no part of the affordable housing delivery was for social rent. Can you tell me what has and what will be done to improve the way Torbay Council is addressing housing crisis and how it will reverse decline in provision for rental property let at social rent? Thank you.
Councillor Timon, can you please provide a...
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I think that across the chamber we have recognised the importance going forward of social rent as being far more appropriate than affordable rent. And across the chamber, I think there is a determination to do something about that. Looking at what has happened and what is happening, I think an important step was taken by this council in bringing Tor Vista back in, or bringing the delivery of homes back into the council where we can actually give it more focus. And I think that's been successful. But looking at what's actually happened, there has been a substantial programme coming out of the housing strategy developed during the last administration. And I think there's also been a great benefit from having dedicated and experienced housing managers. And again, I do compliment the previous administration for starting that process to create that extra capacity. But just to tell you where that's led us, where we got to, we have, during the last couple of months, completed purchase of a couple of units, a couple of blocks of units that are now housing 11 families who were previously in temporary accommodation and 7 care leavers who were also previously in temporary accommodation. That's 18 families who've now got permanent homes with secure tenancies at social rent. We also took possession a week ago of Paignton House. That's 14 more units, all at social rent. We're progressing the plans that have been around for many years to develop at St Kilda's 23 units, all at social rent. We are bringing to Cabinet next week another proposal which I hope will be supported by all under the accommodation repurposing for 25 units, all at social rent. I think you'll get the idea.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
I think you'll get the idea that social rent is where we as a council need to go. I think that reflects what has been said from both sides of this chamber. And I think, and really do hope, that we all keep behind that drive over coming months.
Madam Mayor, may I please raise a standing order under standing order A15.12, please?
I think you'll find that standing orders only apply to debate, and seeing as this is questions, I will not allow that. I refer to question 3 in respect of the lifts and escalators in Fleet Walk. Councillor Paignton, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you.
Councillor Timing, can you turn your light off, please? Thank you very much. I refer to question 4 in respect of cots provided in temporary accommodation facilitated by Torbay Council. Councillor Johns, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I refer to question 5 in respect of the overspend made by the air show in Torbay. Councillor Long, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Tymon, for your answer, which acknowledges that part of the overspend will indeed fall on local taxpayers through the revenue budget. Can I ask how the other part of the overspend will be covered? Thank you.
Councillor Tymon, can you please provide a response?
Certainly, the way that overspends and underspends net themselves off is an established process that goes on with balancing a budget at year end. The important thing is that we see that there is no deficit through the council's activities in the course of the year, and therefore we usually find and traditionally have always found that that is able to be achieved. If that's achieved, then there is no deficit that needs to be funded by the taxpayer.
Thank you. I refer to question 6 in respect of the measures Swissco has taken to ensure its robot lawnmowers are safe and do not harm local wildlife. Councillor Mandy Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Billings, for your generically generated answer to this. I wondered if you could furnish me with a bit more information about the measures Swissco is taking, particularly with regards to wildlife. Are the robot lawnmowers fitted with wildlife safety buffers on them to prevent wildlife being injured or killed by these robot devices? Thank you.
Councillor Billings, can you please provide a response?
Well, certainly, Madam Mayor, and thank you for this question to reassure our residents. I think it helpful, first of all, to recap over the robot mowers that Swissco operate. Swissco first installed a robot mower on the Banjo in 2010 under a previous administration, Madam Mayor. I've been very focused as the Cabinet member that robot mowers should improve safety of our operatives and also recognise the importance of keeping a free-flowing highway. And that's why I've been pleased to oversee, in addition to the robot mower already on the Banjo, the installation of 3 robot mowers on the triangular areas of grass, which are at the dual carriageway as you come down the hill and travel towards Newton Abbot. A further robot mower at the roundabout at the top of the dual carriageway as you turn off towards Shippey Lane. And then a further robot mower on the English Riviera flowerbed. Now, I would highlight to members that that to get to most of those spaces, 4 of the 5 that I've listed, hedgehogs would need to cross a busy dual carriageway, and that is precisely the reason why we have focused on those being locations for robot mowers. Because of that, I'd be delighted to take on board the comments about improving safety for hedgehogs at those locations, and also in particular at the Banjo, where there was previously a robot mower that this administration inherited, because clearly wildlife connectivity in that location is more pressing. I will endeavour to find out from officers whether they are indeed fitted with wildlife buffers. I think more importantly, and I hope as set out in the answer, we have tried to take on board the fact that hedgehogs are a nocturnal species, Madam Mayor, and so therefore the mowers are programmed to primarily be out and about cutting the grass during the day, where it's less likely that hedgehogs would be out and around. And I think that goes for other species that the mowers might come into contact with, but I'm quite happy to follow up that in due course. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I refer to question 7 in respect of the Council's communications about renewing postal votes. Councillor Law, do you have a supplementary question in the absence of... No. I refer to question 8 in respect of the number of employment mentors recruited by the Council. Councillor Penny, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do, please. Thank you, Councillor Bye. It's a very good start we have here, and that's what the basis is. No question. My question really is in relation particularly to the parenting champion who is undergoing the studying, etc., for his qualification as a mentor, which is grand news. We then go on to say we aim to replicate this increase the numbers over time. And my question is, by how many and how long a time is this already been thought through, or is it still to be thought through? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bye, could you please provide a response? Carry on, Councillor Bye. Thank you.
That's a bit premature. I do apologise, Madam Mayor. No, I want to thank Councillor Penny for actually raising this question. We must do more and we must do better for our care experienced youngsters in terms of helping them secure employment, education and training. So I was very pleased indeed to be able to inform members that we do have a champion who's going to become qualified as a not just a personal advisor, but is going to be a mentor for young people, and absolutely delighted that we could talk about the jobs fair that we had for care experienced young people. I have to say, in terms of recruiting any further mentors, that almost certainly is work in progress. But when we come to the item later this evening on adopting the new corporate parenting strategy, I will be pleased to read to Councillor Penny and all members the strengthened commitment that there is in terms of helping our young people secure employment, education and training. For the record, we have been fairly consistent in recent years at more than half of our youngsters securing employment, education and training, but we have not met our ambitious target that 70% or more secure that. We're in line with most other councils, but I want to do better than other councils, and I want us to get to that target and beyond. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I refer to question 9 in respect of the Sunday exemption for parking restrictions on the St Mary Church Road. Councillor George Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
No supplementary, Madam Mayor, but may I just thank Councillor Billings for his support with this and answer.
Thank you. Question 10 in respect of the number of families and children in temporary accommodation. Councillor Johns, do you have a supplementary question?
I don't, Madam Mayor.
Question 11 in respect of planning matters going to committee following a request by a ward councillor. Councillor Paignton, do you have a supplementary question? Councillor, question 12 in respect of application for the community wealth building policy for the Christmas market and ice rink. Councillor Long, do you have a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Question 13 in respect of measures to enforce the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on Cricketfield Road. Councillor Mandy Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Thank you again, Councillor Billings, for the response. In your response, you talk about average speeds that members are aware of around 24 miles an hour, although in email trails I have it that from highways it's about 30 miles an hour. Would you therefore, from this information, then consider having one of the temporary speed limit advisory mechanisms put on Cricketfield Road as a temporary measure to help residents there feel that there is something being done? Thank you.
Councillor Billings, can you please provide a response?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Darling. I'd highlight for the benefit of the members who haven't had the time to look at them, paragraph 3 of the printed answer, where I refer to the fact that I've been very pleased to welcome officers purchasing 4 vehicle activated warning signs And these are intelligent road signs that both illuminate to indicate the speed, to advise drivers of the speed in force at the time, and also they collect data on on vehicles passing along the road, and they can do that irrespective of whether the sign is illuminating or not, and that gives us both speed monitoring data. So they have a very, very useful functions. I tried to reassure in the answer, Councillor, that positioning one of these on Cricket Field Road was one of the things that officers would be doing amongst the priority of allocating those 4 vehicle activated warning signs to different locations, but I can certainly confirm that reassurance if it's not been clear in the written answer. What I'd also highlight is I've been very keen to represent this council in the Vision Zero Southwest Partnership, and clearly the opportunity to bid for additional speed cameras is always there. That's something I've been very keen to do, and we'll have to see where those representations about important roads where there should be speed monitoring and speed enforcement get to. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for the question.
Thank you, Councillor Billings. Councillor Mandy Darling, could you turn your light off, please? That's mine. It's fine, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Question 14, in respect of the geological report of the highway at Ilsham Marine Drive. Councillor Steve Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 15, in respect of the inspectors for beauty salons in Torbay. Councillor Law, do you have a supplementary question? No, Councillor Long. No, thank you. Question 16, in respect of monitoring the number of parents caring for children on the SEND register prosecuted for school non-attendance. Councillor George Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I appreciate that the penalty notices are government policy, but how the council chooses to apply this is within its own remit. It allows for discretion in those under exceptional circumstances. I'm informed that SEN families make up 16.4% of FPNs, and that's roughly 30% more than a general population. Will you commit to look into this, and in particular see if there's anything more we can do to support these SEN families?
Thank you. Councillor Bye, can you please provide a response?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think the first point is that we are working very hard to improve attendance at school for all groups in the community. The situation in Torbay only very recently was that we were one of the worst places for school attendance in the whole of the country. And I forget whether it was for primary or for secondary, but only one other area, that's Norfolk, had worse school attendance than Torbay. So I think it's absolutely right that we focus on school attendance, and all groups, including those children with special educational needs and disabilities, in my view, with appropriate support, do best when they are at school. The answer already given explains that support is provided for those families and for those children, and only in very exceptional circumstances would fines be given. But in terms of improving support for children with special educational needs and disabilities, that's a hugely complex issue, and we can take that perhaps to overview and scrutiny when we look at the response and the action plan for the SEND area inspection. We're doing all that we can in terms of improved provision. We're doing all that we can in terms of investment in our schools, and I was only pleased that this last week to go to Paignton Academy and see the new SEN block there, and actually at Paignton that they are experiencing improved attendance. And I think within Councillor Darling's ward, if I've got the ward boundaries a little bit askew, but at Cuthbert Main, they have won an award as being one of the schools with the most improved attendance in the whole of the country. They're, I think, in the top 10 in terms of improved attendance. So I would hope as councillors, we would all wish to support all groups of children to attend school. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 17, in respect of the application of the Community Wealth Building Policy for proposal for a hotel at the Strand in Torquay. Councillor Long, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. One of the purposes of community wealth building is to ensure that as much of the public sector spend in the Bay stays in the Bay. Does the Cabinet member agree that an international or national hotel brand might take money out of the Bay through profits, potentially at the expense of local hotels whose profits would stay in the Bay? Thank you.
Councillor Lewis, could you please provide a response?
Thank you very much indeed. And I'm delighted that we have got international chains who are interested in investing in Torbay. Of course, there is a place, and they're very important, the smaller hotels. We are looking for a 4 or 5-star hotel to be in the Strand. To do that and to have an international brand who gets the message of Torbay across is what we've got to do. What is important, though, Councillor Long, is that the international brand, and all it is a brand, they don't bring in the staff from elsewhere, that they recruit locally while the hotel's being built. We take advantage of apprenticeships, working closely with South Devon College, who is part of the community wealth building. As you know, we have meetings with South Devon College, with the NHS, and with Torbay Council to encourage people to recruit locally, to buy locally, and that's what we will do with the hotel in the Strand. But how pleased am I that instead of having 14 apartments on the Strand, we've actually purchased the other properties. We're expanding it, and we have a lot of interest in that. I think that will be a game changer for that part of Torquay, and we'll encourage people to come in, which will provide more jobs, more money for the economy, where people are coming, staying at 4 or 5-star hotels. It's a win-win situation. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Question 18, in respect of traffic continuing to flow up and down Fleet Walk. Councillor Mandy Darling, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Billings, again for a good response. My question is, the police have advised that they do not have the capacity to police this, and have said that their option is for a barrier. Now, your response seems to say that that the reasons not to have a barrier is because the risk of it being vandalised and that bikes will not be able to pass through it. Can you explain to me why you feel that this barrier would be vandalised when there's lots of other places in Torbay, why vandals would pick on this one thing, and why you feel there isn't maybe a way that the bikes could just go round the barrier or people get off the bikes? It just seems a very small reason not to have the barrier, which has been promoted by the police and is in lots of other cities in the country. Thank you.
Councillor Billings, can you please provide a response?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think it helpful, first of all, if I set out what, in my opinion, would be the ideal scenario in this situation. And that is for the council to have applied to government to have been one of the authorities where we could enforce moving traffic orders. Now, we had that opportunity as a council under a previous administration. Unfortunately, we didn't choose to take up that opportunity, and as I currently speak, that opportunity is not being offered by government. Should working with the local MP, that opportunity be re-offered through the department, in my eyes, that would be the ideal scenario in this situation, because what that would allow is it would allow the council to stand in the place of the police through the excellent enforcement team we have in Swissco and the Brighter Bay Initiative, and enforce moving traffic violations. Currently, as members around the chamber will be aware, that the council can't enforce traffic matters on moving vehicles. We can only do it on parked vehicles, and also, as you've illuminated, that the police on a bay-wide basis, this is a difficult priority for them. In relation to my answer, yes, there is a reference to vandalism. I have, however, had to search my answer for it because it was a subsidiary point. The key point, Councillor, is that rising bollards would be challenging because we've got lots of services in the ground, and the services underneath the road are very close to the surface and would cost a lot of money. In relation to a barrier that goes up and down from one side, that would block the main desire line that cyclists would normally travel down. And having engaged with lots of cycling groups, it's my understanding that would be contrary to their key objectives in the way they want to keep that open, because it would force cyclists into an area where there would also be pedestrians. And the officer advice I have is that that's likely to cause conflict. Also, putting that in conjunction with the fact there are several points of entry to this location, and running of a barrier system would be problematic. So this isn't for a want of trying. This is clearly an ongoing problem.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is clearly an ongoing problem that's passed from multiple administrations, and I would really like to encourage, through our MP, the opportunity to ask government to reopen that opportunity to enforce moving traffic orders. Thank you.
Question 19, in respect of the community use of the old monastery Paignton. Councillor Johns, do you have a supplementary question?
As you can imagine, no thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Question 20, in respect of the lighting at Melville Hill Car Park. Councillor Pentley, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Billings, for your answer. Given that we are only at the start of winter and the ongoing safety concerns caused by the poor lighting in Melville Car Park, what immediate measures will be put in place to protect residents and visitors until the lighting survey and subsequent upgrades are completed?
Councillor Billings, could you provide a response, please?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to draw to everyone's attention the importance of this car park. Officers have not put forward to me any specific mitigation measures whilst we're waiting for the outcome of this survey. But if Councillor, you'd like to come forward with some, I'd be very happy to work with you and any other colleagues who would like to explore all options to ensure we deliver for our residents. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have now reached a 30-minute time limit for questions, and the remaining questions will be deemed as withdrawn in accordance with Standing Order A12.7. I now move to item 7, review of Council Tax Support Scheme 2026 to 2027. Please refer to page 15. Councillor Timon, can you please put the Cabinet's motion to the Council?
Certainly, Madam Mayor, if you can just give me a moment to get to the different bit of the menu, or a different bit of the different report. Right. Every year we have to bring a paper talking about council tax support scheme. The process requires us to go through, if we're planning to make any changes, to go through consultation. Consultation has taken place and has generally come up with fairly widespread approval of the suggestions that have been made. What we are planning to do in the council tax support scheme this year is to leave most of the support unchanged, but to increase the support for single parent families by coinciding the banding for those with those for couples with families. This will give a level of additional support to some of our claimants, in the region, to some of them, of round about £300 per year, so not an insignificant amount of extra support. I think it's fair to say that analysis has shown that this group of people are ones that find significant difficulty in making payments, and I think that providing additional support to those families is very valuable and absolutely the right thing to do. If you're just let me find the actual bit of the proposal so I can read it out. Therefore, the recommendation is that the Council be recommended to amend the Council Tax Support Scheme for 2026-27 as follows. The financial support for some of our working age households within the community is increased by aligning the income bands that allocate council tax support discounts for single parents with couples that have children. By making this change, it will help to alleviate the cumulative effects of welfare cuts and rising household costs. And for details, see paragraph 8.1 to 8.14. That income bands will be increased by the September 2025 Consumer Price Index inflation rate at 3.8%, and that subject to clause 3.1 above, the Cabinet notes that, no, that's a Cabinet thing, so I can leave that one out. The notes that the exception, no, it's still that Cabinet. So yes, sorry about that confusion. That's all we need to resolve to deal with.
Can you turn your microphone off, please, Councillor Tan? Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to second and reserve my right.
I now invite debate. Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And there is an absolute inequity between the council tax support scheme for people of working age and the scheme that exists for those on pensionable that are of pensionable age. Pensioners get 100% relief if they're on pension credit, etc., whereas people of working age, working age in the Bay get a reduction of 75%. I had hoped that and of course we live in a very deprived area, so that sum that people have to pay is an awful regressive tax that the lowest paid have to pay. And I had hoped that the administration would continue the work that the previous Lib Dem independent administration had started in reducing council tax for the poorest in the Bay. There was a grant 1 year, and then we did the necessary work to allow for a reduction of up to 75%. This will be a priority for the next Liberal Democrat administration when the Conservatives are swept out from power at the next elections. Thank you.
Councillor Cowell. I apologise, I should have called you first. I do apologise.
You're forgiven, it's 10 years. It's thank you, Madam Mayor. Echoing the points Councillor Long has made, we made it clear that we wanted to start that process of increasing the maximum discount, and we expected that to be a steady progress. It has come to a halt, unfortunately. It seems to be stuck at 75%. Now, whilst I welcome and I will be supporting this effective harmonisation of this payment to single people, I am deeply disappointed. And the sad thing is, it's affordable. And because we've had an effective cut of £1.2 million to our base budget over the last 2 years, moving into the third year, we could have actually been providing for some of the poorest and most challenged residents in Torbay. So I'm disappointed, but I will be supporting the current proposal. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Darling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Councillor Long is spot on to highlight that Torbay is the most deprived local authority in the southwest of England. And so to have one of the least generous schemes in the United Kingdom is something that we should be striving to move against. Also, Madam Mayor, I would like to highlight that in a recent House of Commons library inquiry that I made, it highlighted that we have the highest levels of council tax liability with our communities across Torbay. And when one takes account of our low levels of income, the fact that we have only approximately 7% social rented housing that results in a private sector with people having to pay significantly higher rents, it is not surprising that the poorest of the poor have the toughest deal in Torbay in the southwest of England. So I would welcome the Cabinet member to reflect in his summing up of how he could see some progress next year for tackling this very wicked issue.
Thank you. If there's no more debate, we go back to Councillor Thomas. You reserved your right.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. I will be supporting the motion this evening. I think it is worth pointing out that the items 3, 4, 5 and 6 that are in the report that basically that Cabinet were effectively approved actually are only come into play if Council actually agree 1 and 2 this evening. So I think they're clearly intrinsically linked. I'm sure and hopeful that the Council will support this proposal to rationalise that issue that Councillor Timon spoke so eloquently about. Don't wish to take up too much time, but I will 100% be supporting. Thank you.
Thank you. I now move to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Timon. Oh, sorry, Councillor Timon. I jumping the gun there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pick up 1 or 2 points. The first one in terms of the change that was made a couple of years ago from that has brought us to the position of 75% support now. It had been the intention of the previous administration to do something about this, but it was interesting that they actually didn't make this move, and it was this administration that changed the rate from the previous 70% to 75%. It may be, it may have been their intention to go further, but interestingly, they had done nothing to make it happen other than go out to a consultation. They did not implement anything. I've been interrupted from opposite to say that's not true. I would like to suggest that it was a budget or a tax put forward by this administration that made that change. Secondly, I've been challenged to talk about what we're doing to
point of order in relation
to... Can you just hang on a sec, please? Councillor Long.
Point of order in relation to A1 5.12, and it's in relation to factual accuracy. Please, Madam Mayor.
Yes, I'll take that now, please.
One thing that hasn't been clarified is that the actual reduction could not have happened without the consultation, because you have to do the consultation first. We've been advised by officers. So it couldn't have been done in that budget without having done the consultation first, which the previous administration had done. And there was also the point which I made about the previous year, we'd done a grant to people on council tax support as well. Thanks.
Councillor Timon, would you like to carry on?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The fact is that this administration implemented it. We could have done a consultation in the normal lead up to it coming to council. We didn't need to do that because it had been done before, but...
Could we just have one meeting, please?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It really isn't helpful when one's trying to speak to this chamber to have constant mumbling and moans from other people, other councillors. From a personal point of view, I find it disrespectful. I find it really unhelpful. It disrupts my flow of what I'm saying, and I feel that what I say to this council ought to be treated with more respect than it appears to be by certain individuals. I am upset to hear what goes on, to experience what goes on, and I wish to register my discontent. I was also asked what I was going to do about the situation. What I would say is that I believe that, and picking up from what had been talked about in the questions earlier, I have done more to trigger off a step change in what's being done in the provision of social rented housing in this council. It's another thing, like the council tax, that the opposition, when they were in administration, did very little about in 4 years. I know they had ambitions. I know they wanted to get things going. They were actually got a lot of good intentions. But what I'd like to point out to this council is that this administration is delivering change. And we will carry on doing that despite the constant moaning that we get for any progress that we do make.
I will now move to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Abstaining? Motion's carried. I move to item 8, Council Tax Base 2026 to 2027. Please refer to report circulated on the 9th of December 2025, page 3 in the supplement pack. Can Councillor Timon please put his motion to the Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is another report that comes before this council every year. It's a required step along the road to producing a budget and setting council tax, which we will be doing in February. This report is a pure factual statement of the number of properties that we have as of the end of November. It's an automatic calculation in its main part, and it leads to the ability for not only ourselves but the precepting authorities, the fire, the police, and Brixham Town Council to know what they can expect in terms of funding going forward when they set their council tax rates, their precept rates. So I to put this forward as stated in the report.
Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to second. As Councillor Timon says, it is a factual procedural report, a statement of fact to enable us to set the council tax. So I'm happy to second.
Is there any debate? If no debate, then I move to the vote. Oh, no, sorry. I wish to come back. Councillor Timon.
Happy that we move to the vote on this one.
Thank you very much. I move to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Move to item 9, budget monitoring, revenue and capital outturn 2025-2026, quarter 2. Please refer to page 83. Can Councillor Timon please put the Cabinet's motion to the Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I often wish that the the reports that I'm going to present were not one after the other to give me a little bit of time to think and find the right page. It's maybe it's something that can be considered for the future, that where there isn't a need to put them consecutively, they could be moved apart. But the recommendation for council here is very simple. It's that the council approves the revisions to the capital investment plan as set out in Appendix 1 to the submitted report. Members will note that they've received the full budget monitoring report, which covers an update on the situation on the revenue side, as well as the capital side of the council's activities. And I would just remind council that the revenue side and the capital side were scrutinised. Both were then brought to Cabinet. The Cabinet noted the revenue side, but council's responsibility this evening is to approve the capital investment plan to be added. If I just refer to that bit, therefore, you'll find the details of that in section 6 on page 83 of the report. Being added at this time to the capital programme is some £27.5 million of activity. 25 million of that, roughly, is covered by being funded through grants. A little over £2 million of that is prudential borrowing, but it's prudential borrowing that has previously been agreed by this council, both in the accommodation repurposing report and another specific housing paper. So you are not being asked to approve any additional borrowing tonight. And then there's a small amount, about 300,000, which is actually coming from a housing reserve, which was created through the last year's budget and has been created actually from the revenue budget into that reserve. So that's how the makeup of those items is concerned. If any members have any questions on any of those capital projects, I or one of my colleagues, I'm sure, whose portfolio it is, would be happy to try and help answer those questions.
Is there a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to second and reserve my right.
I now invite debate. Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as Councillor Tymans alluded to, this was scrutinised at ONS, and it's that sort of mid-year point. We know that some of the movements that we see as potential overspends today will come through and the other side as hopefully as balanced budget. But the one area that I think needs to continue to be highlighted is that of the severe pressures, continued pressures on children's services, particularly in regard to placements. That is where a significant element of the overspend is under pressure because of market forces mainly, where these children are being placed not necessarily in Torbay either. Many of them are higher needs as well, and they could be placed anywhere in the region or indeed the country. And I was pleased to hear the Director of Children's Services at Overview and Scrutiny, and indeed the Cabinet member, Councillor Bye, in discussing the prospect of the council opening up its own children's home, returning to something that was the norm for councils but disappeared through the late 80s and 90s. And I think the urgency of that, and I know there's all sorts of hoops that Children's Services will have to jump through to be able to open that. But what's encouraging, you may have seen, some of you today, I think it was, Plymouth are planning to open 5 children's homes, one of which I believe is due to be open next year. Now, whilst Plymouth are obviously larger than Torbay in terms of its population, that is going to probably impact the demand in that private sector, which should hopefully start seeing some cost pressures reduce around the availability of accommodation. So it's just that cautionary note yet again that we must keep a laser sharp focus on the need to deliver children's accommodation here in Torbay. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Bye.
Thank you indeed, Madam Mayor. And to follow on from the point that Councillor Cowell made, we had that full discussion at Cabinet, or it may be an overview and scrutiny, one or the other. But my own view is we are all, as members of the council and community leaders, we are capable of recruiting foster carers. It's more foster carers. That would be the priority. Absolutely, we are looking with great urgency to open a small children's home for those youngsters with the most complex needs who otherwise sadly would be placed out of area, and working with an independent operator also who has expressed interest in opening in the Bay. But please, it is recruiting more foster carers, expressing our thanks to foster carers. We wouldn't be going back to the big old children's homes that some of us remember from the past. I think that would be a retrograde step. We want to thank, celebrate, praise our foster carers and do everything we can as individuals and councillors within our communities to recruit more. That absolutely is the best way of providing appropriate support, care and love for our cared for children. Thank you.
If there's no more debate, Councillor Thomas, you've reserved your right. Councillor Timon.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And but there are no questions actually relating to the matter that needs to be decided tonight. So on that basis, I hope we have support across the chamber for the motion regarding the adding of items to the capital budget.
Thank you. I now move to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. I move to item 10, Corporate Parenting Strategy 2026 to 2028. Please refer to page 111. Can Councillor Bye please put the Cabinet's motion to the Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm absolutely delighted to propose the Corporate Parenting Strategy 2026-2028, a contract of trust. I'm going to read out the recommendation because this has already been to the Cabinet. So at the Cabinet, I think it's important to read out what was agreed at the Cabinet, that the Director of Corporate Services be requested to update the Council's Equality Impact Assessment templates to include care experience under the list of protected characteristics in line with the inclusion strategy for Torbay for 2025-2030. I think we all accept that was a step forward. And to approve the amendment to the terms of reference for the Corporate Parenting Board to include the leader of the council and the senior corporate parenting lead as a contributing attendee to its membership. This change demonstrates the council's strength and commitment to delivering the objectives of the corporate parenting strategy. So that went through to Cabinet, and then Cabinet to us for tonight's consideration, please, that the Corporate Parenting Strategy 2026-2028 set out at Appendix 1 to the submitted report be approved. And I want to start off by saying thank you to our Chief Executive and to thank Steve Hart, who is the Chair of our Children's Services Continuous Improvement Board, for their input in absolutely taking this corporate parenting strategy forward, engaging effectively with the voice of children and young people who are in our care. And I'm absolutely delighted that Mr. Hart, who's with us this evening, has told me before the meeting that he went back to the young people that he and the Chief Executive will speaking with in the summer, and they absolutely recognise their voice in this new strategy. So it is very definitely a step forward. The language is different to the previous strategy, and it absolutely reflects their ambitions and reflects what they want to see in what essentially is their strategy. So the language is a little bit different. If I can find one or two good examples. So, quotes, if I may, I want my say in decisions, cared for young person. Being a care leaver faces you up to not having a family around you like the most of your mates. It is hard and lonely sometimes. That's a care experience, young person. Don't just talk to us, hear what we have to say and understand what it means. That's a cared for young person, a specific consultation session response. And there's an attractive artwork there illustrating everyone coming together, laying their hands on top of one another, and that is from a young person in our care. So it is a fantastic document. It has been through the Children's Services Overview and Scrutiny Board. It's been to the Cabinet. It's been to the Corporate Parenting Board. And now it comes here. And I have to say, on each occasion, and I'm so sorry that Councillor Cordelia Law is not here with us this evening. I understand that there are particular circumstances why she is not here, but she has spoken eloquently in support of this document, probably far more eloquently than I am capable of so doing. But I hope it gets the unanimous support of all councillors here tonight. We are all corporate parents. We all have responsibilities, legal and moral, for the more than 300 children who are currently in our care and those who have recently left care. Absolutely, we are making progress in terms of housing, for example, for our care experience youngsters. And I particularly wanted to refer to Councillor Penny, if I may. Here we go. We've got our 5 pledges. And number 5, independence and future opportunities. We will guide you as you grow, offering support when needed and space when wanted. We will help you develop the life skills and access opportunities in education, employment and training until at least age 21 and where applicable up to 25 years. There's absolutely a specific undertaking to do better in terms of getting our youngsters who've been in care to lead the sort of lives that they would wish and we would wish for them as we would wish for our own children. It's a well thought through document. We have our pledges, we have our priorities, and then we outline our corporate parenting board.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
I was only just got going. I'm so excited about this one. I'm really excited about this one. In 30 seconds, I want to say thank you to members of the Corporate Parenting Board. It outlines in this document the strand lead arrangements that we've all now taken on board so we can champion particular outcomes for children who are in our care. Madam Mayor, this is a living document. It can be reviewed every 12 months. It is something that I'm very proud of. Let's all work together for our young people and vote unanimously in favour.
Thank you, Councillor Nye.
Thank you.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And as has previously been said, we are all corporate parents, and I think I attended my 3rd or 4th practice week, children's practice week, very recently, and I think it's important. And that the section I attended included the missing persons team, and it was a very sobering session to be part of. And I think it's important that we send a message to all our staff who work in children's services to thank them for all their hard work that they do as part of this. And Councillor Law unfortunately can't be here. She's got a family member in hospital, so that's why she's not here. But she sent me what she was going to say as part of her seconding, which is that for her, and I'm sure all of us, this is the most special document that this council has. And regardless of our politics and whatever else we may disagree on, this document, our corporate parenting strategy, unites us as corporate parents and sets out how our children and young people want us to come together to care for and appreciate them. Councillor Law has read a fair few corporate parenting strategies in her time, and she can say with her hand on her heart that she thinks ours stands out as one of the best. It's clear, informative, and written with love. And she felt assured and has had feedback throughout the process that our young people in our care have very much helped to shape and create this strategy, and she would like to put on record our thanks and gratitude to them for giving up their time and experience to help us create something. So I'm sure we'll all be seconding it and voting for it this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Councillor Twelves?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a member of the Corporate Parenting Board and also a Strand lead, I fully support the strategy. The Corporate Parenting Board considered the item on a number of occasions during its process to come to this point and unanimously supported it at the most recent board. It went through a very, very thorough and brilliant process and got the voices of the care experienced and cared for young people, and those voices are fully embedded throughout the document, as Councillor Bai has demonstrated in his opening. I'd like to thank all the care experienced young people and cared for children, as well as the officers involved in it, and it was a lot of hard work. They worked really well. And I look forward to seeing it being implemented for the good of all our children. Thank you.
Any more debate? Councillor Long? Councillor Darling, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as somebody who is adopted, it does feel very close to me. And as somebody who went from having one sibling to 10 and having only met 3 of my half-sisters about 3 weeks ago for the first time, we know that our young people live very complex lives. And we need to make sure that this document isn't just an outstanding document that sits up on a shelf. And I would like to reflect on the response that Councillor Nigel Penny got about mentoring, because perhaps that is the most important thing that as a young person making their way in the world, and we heard that from the quotes that the Cabinet member made about that you're on your own as a care experienced young person. And I really wanted to know from the Cabinet member, where does he see the key priorities? What are his top 3 that are within this document to make sure that we get driven forward over the next 18 months? Because it is sad when he reads part of a document and to think the crucial thing for me is that we need to be looking at this as if it were my child. What would we be doing? And should we be having parts of a document that we say to our child, where appropriate, up to 25, I'll give you support? That does cause me concern. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any more debate? Councillor Bai? Oh, Councillor Long? No. Councillor Bai.
Thank you so much. And I also want to say thank you particularly to Councillor Long for reading so eloquently Councillor Law's speech, Councillor Twelves, and absolutely Councillor Darling for highlighting the issues that you raise. It's interesting, one of the things in the report, one of the things in the background to all this, is that our youngsters weren't terribly keen on the title of corporate parenting, and that they're going to see if they can come up with something a bit better or something that resonates more with them. But the reality is we have to prepare this, and it's absolutely explained in the report, we have to prepare this within the legal framework. So, of course, anyone would wish to see youngsters succeed and to go on. We don't want anyone to fall off a cliff edge at 18, 21 or 25. But the document is absolutely drawn up in the context of what the law provides and our legal responsibilities for children and young people who are in our care and those who have been care experienced. So that is why there is a reference to 25. What do I want to see? What do I want to see more of? The progress that we've been making in accommodation for care experienced young people. The thrill, the absolute thrill to know that there are care experienced young people who are now in their own homes. 2 properties that have been acquired by this council. Our first ever, as far as I'm aware, accommodation for care experienced young people, absolutely designated, and to hear from Councillor Timon that 2 more youngsters who were in the foyer, who are care experienced, have actually moved up into another property that we've talked about. I'm going off to meet with the YMCA, as I think other councillors are, next week at their premises at Cliff Road. That's coming on stream. So they are providing absolutely support for youngsters who are, as we know, at risk of homelessness. Not specifically for care experienced youngsters, but almost inevitably, if it's the same as their projects in Exeter, which some of us visited, almost inevitably some of those youngsters will be care experienced. Fantastic things that we do already that are only in Torbay events. Things like the Train of Lights, things like the Anderson Rowland Fair Play Day, things like our celebration event in this building just a few weeks ago. We want to celebrate the success of our care experienced young people and those who are in care and share with them their moments of joy. So that would be the second thing. And the third thing, and keep coming back to it, we want to recruit more foster carers. The best form of care for those youngsters who sadly we have that responsibility for whatever reason, is to be with foster carers in the local area where they can continue in their schools if that's the most appropriate setting for them, and they get that kind of support which is so much more easily given when they are in our locality. So those are the things. But thank you again across the chamber for the support for this. I very much hope it will be unanimous, the vote tonight. Absolutely, having a piece of paper is one thing, but delivering those outcomes is something else. We are all corporate parents. It's our responsibility, all of us, to deliver those outcomes. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bye. I move to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Move to item 11, Licensing Act Statement of Principles, Licensing Policy 2026 to 2031. I apologise. Please refer to page 151. Can Councillor Tranter please put the Cabinet's motion to the Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Section 5 of the Licensing Act 2003 requires a licensing authority to determine and publish a statement of its licensing policy at least once every 5 years. The policy must be published before it carries out any licensing functions under the 2003 Act. The licensing policy is a fundamental part of the decision-making process, and the local authority must have regard to its policy for each application. The policy also sets out the framework of what is expected of applicants and assists them in completing their operating schedule. The authority has reviewed its current policy, and a 6-week public consultation exercise was undertaken between the 18th of July to the 29th of August 25. The responses have been considered and the policy has been updated. As outlined in the report, there are a number of changes to the licensing policy, mainly updating and expanding on areas to provide a clearer guidance to businesses and how to make a successful application and prevent any negative impact on the 4 licensing objectives. I'm asking Council to support the approval of the Licensing Act 2003, proposed licensing statement of principles, licensing policy 2026 to 2031. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bye.
Well, what a surprise. How could I follow such eloquent oratory? I'm absolutely delighted to second this recommendation.
I now invite debate. Councillor Douglas Dunbar, as Shadow Cabinet Member, do you wish to address the Council meeting first?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I welcome this document with its minor updates and clarifications. The Act itself, I can't read my writing, it's absolutely appalling, outlines the aim to support and promote good practice, protecting the public and residents from crime, antisocial behaviour and noise nuisance, keeping children from harm, giving the police and licensing authority the powers they need to manage and police the nighttime economy and regulate late-night refreshment and entertainment, and at the same time acknowledging the role pubs and licensed premises play in tourism and local community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more debate? Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it's not normal for people to rise to participate in debate on these kind of reports. But one thing that's really struck me is bearing in mind the level of hospitality in Torbay and the number of businesses that we have in Torbay. As a tourist destination, there was a total of 15 responses over that 6-week period to that consultation. And if you look at 5.1 of the report, it actually lists 20 either individual bodies or resident groups or business groups. So what I worry about is that the voices of that industry are not clearly being heard. And at 5.2, it says that 14 responses were received to the online consultation, 9 from members of the public. 2 were from a local community group representative, and 1 was from the Police Licensing Authority. One of the other bodies that we engaged with was the TDA. Now, whether that was posthumously or not, I don't know, because as far as I'm aware, the TDA didn't exist at the time of this consultation. So I'm really concerned that we need to make sure we are much better at reaching out so that we really, truly get the voice of the industry when we're actually adopting these policies. It's not a criticism of the authority, I think it's a criticism of the way the system works, but it's an area that we need to be looking at to improve in the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any more debate? Go back to Councillor Tranter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we'll take on board what Councillor Cow says, but in my experience, people tend to not respond when they're happy with what's going on. It's usually when they've got a complaint. But thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I move to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 12, street lighting, central management system and light emitting diode, LED upgrade. Please refer to page 255, which includes a revised officer recommendation. Can Councillor Billings please put his motion to the council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, members, this is a really important matter, and the reason it's come to our council is to request approximately 2.1 million of prudential borrowing, and this will enable the purchase of 3,431 holophane LED lamps and a Talensa centralised management system consisting of 14,794 telesales on our streetlights and 14 base stations. What this will enable our council to do is to achieve 230 tonnes of carbon savings a year and £300,000 a year saving in energy bills. It means that the 2.1 million of prudential borrowings will be paid back in 10 years. So we've got a project here that pays back in 10 years, thereafter saves us 300,000 a year, and every year saves us 230 tonnes of carbon. I would submit, members, this is an absolutely brilliant project. I'm delighted that for the reasons of the prudential borrowing it is required to come to this council, so that we can all endorse the very good work set out on pages 255 to 318. And I'm very pleased with the joint work by officers both in the climate change team within the council and also within Swissco, and I would congratulate the quality of the work that members have seen. So the report and the recommendation is clear from the submitted papers, and I would ask members to endorse this wholeheartedly, given the cost and climate reasons. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do you have a seconder?
I do indeed, Madam Mayor, and I wish to speak now. As Councillor Billings says, this is a good news story. One thing he didn't mention was the fact that at the moment, if they want to change the lights, it's a bit like the 1800s, I think, where the guy with the gas lamps used to go along and turn them on and turn them off, which is so... That was quite funny, actually. So, which is completely outdated. And what this will mean is that we can dim the lighting, we can change the timing. We have the management from a central position as opposed to going out with the old light system. And it is, as the portfolio holder for climate change, it is important because the carbon emissions by the lighting is 11% of all the cost, and the carbon footprint of the council, is 11%. So it's quite substantial. It will mean that we are having a saving, it will save us money, and reducing our carbon is what we agreed to, that we would try to reduce it as a council, 2030 it is for the council. So it's a good news story for the council, good news story for our residents. We can dim the lighting when we want to do it, and it's good for our keeping the world alive and doing our bit to reduce the carbon emissions. So I'm very happy to second. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I now invite debate. Councillor Fox, as Shadow Cabinet Member, do you wish to address the council meeting first?
I've got no further comments to make, Madam.
Thank you. Any debate? Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and absolutely welcome this. I think it's a fantastic initiative. But I just want to endorse what Councillor Billings referred to in terms of the quality of work of the business case. I genuinely believe it's the most comprehensive and thorough business case I've ever seen submitted to Torbay Council. It's a fantastic model. It answers all the questions within the report itself and the piece of work they've done. So huge congratulations. And I think it's a kind of business case that we need to be benchmarking when we're talking about £70 million projects for commercial and regeneration. And we get it on two sides of A4 sometimes. This is the model that we need to be aspiring to for those major regeneration projects. So congratulations to those involved in the production of that report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any more debate? Councillor Brooke.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I've just got a few comments I wanted to make. The last words that Reverend Nathan spoke when he was doing his prayer was, "Make this place better than we found it." And I certainly believe what we're proposing here will do that in bucket loads. I'm a person, I try and keep to my promises, and one of the, 4 of our election manifesto promises have been fulfilled just through this alone. We promised to spend residents' money wisely, we promised to run the council efficiently, we promised to provide a safer environment, and we also promised to provide a brighter bay. And for residents, they may not know quite how many pages we read up on before we come to these meetings, but focusing on a safer environment and a brighter bay, I just wanted us to look at page 283, which covers operational flexibility. And the first part I want to read out regards safer environment. And just to say, this will enable us as a council to react to unplanned events such as police emergencies, neighbourhood evacuations, missing persons, and route diversion to an accident. Emergency services will have the ability to request lighting levels to be raised through contacting our street lighting team. And the CMS can deliver granular levels of changes to lighting levels in neighbourhoods that are crime hotspots or in areas with residents have complaints of current light levels with our streets. And as much as we laughed about whether Councillor Lewis was around in the 1800s, some think he was, we can't do all that with our current mechanism. You literally have to go to each light post and change each light. This system, it will be a game changer for safety going forward for our residents. And the second part I just want to say was the Brighter Bay. The CMS solution gives the Council the ability to raise or lower lighting levels to meet bespoke requirements of events such as our air show, the Electric Bay Festival and the Bay of Lights. Last night I actually went on the illumination trail. It wasn't raining, it was marvellous. Wandered around with my wife, went along, had a pint of Bays, had a nice burger and really enjoyed it. But this kind of mechanism will enhance those kind of offerings, not just the ones we have now, but potential future events that will come up our way, which is extremely important to the Bay economy when we think about our tourism industry. And I think last year the Trail of Lights worked out 1.2 million people went out on the streets, enjoyed that illumination trail last year, and I'm hoping for similar this year. So money's one major issue. £300,000 of saving is no small amount of money, but making our bay safer, making our bay brighter are top two priorities to our residents when we did our consultation and the community and corporate plan. So that's a huge win for our residents. And on top, we've done a fantastic thing with reducing the carbon emissions. I would call myself personally a green conservative. I'm all for protection of our environment, protection of our green spaces, protection with regard to emissions, and this is wonderful. So wholeheartedly behind it, and I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Carr. I think it's the best business plan I've seen through the Council as well. Thank you very much, members.
If there's any more debate, no. Councillor Billings.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, members, for demonstrating how well and carefully you've read the report as well. Councillor Cowell, I'd agree. This is a superb piece of work. That's why I was specifically referring to the quality of it. It's certainly one of the best I've seen, and I would really highlight the two officers, sort of Guy Redfern in Swissco and Alex Carter in our climate change, who worked collaboratively, both in different teams, so hard to do this with their colleagues, and I congratulate all those involved. It wasn't just those two, but I know they were leading groups of colleagues on this. What we've got here, I think, members, is something that on both sides of the chamber we've spoken positively about, and I would just highlight these new lamps that are being fitted. This system, it's clearly not just going to operate for 10 years. The benefit of this is going to pay off many, many years into the future. I think it's very realistic that these lamps will be, and this system will be operating well into the future, 20 years. And if we consider the carbon and the cost savings from doing that, as well as the functional features that members have spoken about, I think it's absolutely brilliant. So well done to the officer team for doing this, and I hope members support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Billings. I now move to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Move to item 13, Torbay Waste Transfer Station and Household Waste Recycling Centre in Paignton. please refer to page 319, plus Liberal Democrat amendment circulated on the 10th of December 2025. Can Councillor Billings please put the Cabinet's motion to the Council? Cabinet's motion.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we switched from the Councillor Tyman show to the Councillor Billings one, but hopefully, members, we can wrap this up shortly if I speed through this item. So the reports are submitted at pages 319 and 336 of the submitted documents, and what we've got here is also, members, circulated round at 16:40 p.m. a revised recommendation circulated by the head of governance, and it is that revised recommendation that I'll be speaking to, and I'm going to read it out for the benefit of all members who haven't had the opportunity to see their email, and summarise it slightly. It is first that the Council delegate to the Chief Finance Officer the approval of monies to enable the acquisition of land for an enlarged waste transfer facility. And second, that the Council recommends to Cabinet that the Director of Pride and Place be requested to open up conversations with Devon County to explore the possibility that Torbay residents can use the Brunel Road Waste Transfer Station. So, first of all, members, if I speak to the first of those, my colleague, Councillor Fox, and I had a very useful afternoon seeing firsthand the existing waste transfer station, seeing firsthand how its current cramped arrangement made it operationally inefficient, meant that there was double handling of materials, so that processes had to be done several times, which is clearly not efficient. We saw firsthand how the cramped arrangements limited the opportunities for recycling, and clearly that is a priority that we have on both sides. And we also saw firsthand how the current cramped facilities made it difficult to comply with Environment Agency regulations, particularly in relation to the handling of food waste, where there needs to be controlled drainage. Equally, many of those facilities we saw firsthand how they're tired and dated. Both of us observed how the existing concrete around the waste transfer station was worn through being scraped with the buckets of the machinery, and how in consequence the reinforcing rebar was starting to show through the slab. Those areas of defect would need to be fixed whilst the current cramped facilities were in operation, without the acquisition of additional land. And the officer advice that my colleague opposite and I very clearly benefited from this afternoon was that's clearly not feasible. So the first point of this motion is to enable the purchase of some adjacent land, to delegate to the Chief Finance Officer the ability to spend the monies to do that, so that we can acquire this land and gradually, over a period, improve our waste facilities. The second part of this is to address the cross-party contribution that I was very pleased on a collaborative basis to take on board, which came from my colleague opposite, to really explore more conversations to see how residents in Torbay can also benefit in using the waste transfer station that our neighbouring council runs. Clearly, those conversations would need to be at an early stage, and hence why it's sort of a request for officers to explore at this stage. Madam Mayor, I believe that summarises the proposals. I'm conscious we're getting towards the end of the evening. I think I'll leave it there. I believe I possibly got cross-party support on this matter, Madam Mayor.
Is there a seconder? Councillor.
Madam Mayor, I rise to just second this, and in addition to what my colleague opposite has said, this new facility, so we're told by the officers at Swissco, would increase the efficiency by over 4 times. We saw firsthand the problems, and I think it's very important. And the second point to make on the compulsory purchase order, We may not need that at the end of the day. So it's what planners term a friendly CPO. But I think it's important we get that in process as quickly as possible, and hopefully in fullness of time when we submit for planning permission, then that will be a further support for the CPO. On the second part of the motion, again, we agree on the gist of that, and having the facility to be able to use in Newton Abbot will be of tremendous benefit, particularly people living in the northern part of the bay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any debate? Councillor Long.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The Barton with Watcombe ward that I have the honour to represent for 8 years as of next week borders Devon County Council, and indeed some residents on the Kings Kerswell Road have Newton Abbot postcodes, and residents regularly tell me that the Newton Abbot recycling centre is more convenient for them than the facility in Paignton, and I imagine that this might also be the case for Shippey and some Tormowen residents. I'm very pleased, so thank you that the administration have accepted and incorporated the Liberal Democrat amendment, and I hope that the talks with the new leadership in Devon prove to be successful. And the Liberal Democrat group will be supportive of the wider proposals as well, as they make sense. One question though, which maybe the Cabinet member can answer, is whether these proposals have been affected in any way by the recent news from Swissco that has seen a turnover of some staff. Thank you.
Any further debate? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You may not know the answer to this, Mr. Portfolio Holder, but what I would like to know, following what Councillor Long said, if a large number of people went from Torquay to recycle in Teignbridge, would that increase the recycling of Teignbridge and decrease the recycling of Torbay? Would we then be seen by the government that we weren't recycling our residents' recycling goods because they were going to Teignbridge? Because I think that might be, and that's why I think it's good to have a talk with Devon and Teignbridge to see the best way of doing it. Because I would hate at one stage we were going to be fined if our recycling went down. And if we ended up being fined for trying to do good for the good people of our residents, it might not be the best way forward. Thank you.
Councillor Timon.
I'm not going to suggest we change the wording on the thing, but I think we should probably look at this at a slightly wider basis. There may well be residents who live in, for example, Kingswear, who would be better to bring their waste to our recycling centre rather than take it further afield. If they're taking their waste further afield, they're using more petrol, less good for the environment. So all I would say, if we are going to have this debate, can we actually slightly widen it so that we look at how we make this work better throughout this southern or southern part of Devon?
Councillor Cowell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And of course, this debate about where you take your recycling, I'm not going to call it rubbish, your recycling, could be rendered irrelevant because of LGR. If Torbay is forced to expand its boundaries by default, we'll be able to take our rubbish wherever we like within that new unitary authority. But I think this is precisely what the second part of the motion is aimed at, is assuming the status quo of Torbay remaining as we wish on its current boundaries. How can we actually execute the mechanics of us taking our waste to Newton Abbot, or indeed other neighbours coming into Torbay? My my guess would be that as a Torquay resident, if I was going to Newton Abbot, I would have to show some kind of ID and it would be recorded and logged so that there is some kind of traceability on that to perhaps allay some of the fears of Councillor Lewis. But, you know, these are precisely the mechanics and the details that we're asking officers to explore. It may be a dead duck, but it's worth asking the question. And I think on the wider issue of Yalberton, I mean, I remember when Yalberton first opened and the investment that was there all those years ago, not quite in Victorian times of Chris Lewis, Councillor Lewis, but it was, we used to have landfill tips, if you remember, one at Borough Road and there was one in Barton, and we're still seeing that being vented today, where we're supposed to be building a solar farm. But again, I think we are still dealing with the legacy of the lack of investment previously from Tor 2 and that inheritance of not being able to invest in that Yalberton site, not being innovative. And I'm really encouraged by the forward thinking, as we saw in the previous report, as to how we can actually provide a first-class recycling facility within the heart of Torbay, whilst also exploring options of taking our waste elsewhere. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Steve Darling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it is appropriate that my colleague, Councillor Cowell, alluded to Tor 2, because I think it's important that we reflect to ourselves that once upon a time we were effectively a hostage client of Tor 2, and I'm pleased that we as the Lib Dems and Independents ended that and moved us on to a much better performing Swissco. And I am concerned that the deputy leader of the local authority is trying to keep our residents as hostage residents, not able to actually spread their wings and make their lives more convenient, because we are here to serve, and that's what I would have hoped. And I'm pleased that we've seen common sense breaking out with Councillor Timon, where we ought to be looking at that bigger picture and seeing what opportunities there are for residents in the South Hams to take advantage of our facilities. Thank you.
Councillor Bryant.
Yeah, okay. As being the resident waste guy here, well, I am. I'm concerned about cross-pollination, if you like, from going to Newton Abbot. Who's going to pay for it? They're obviously going to charge us for it. People coming from South Hams to us, they're going to charge us, and we're going to charge them. So who's going to pay for all this? And also, what about our recycling rates within Torbay? They're now coming up. We need them to stay. We need them to go up again. So my thoughts are we need to be, unfortunately, we need to stay within Torbay. Our waste needs to stay here rather than going to other places. Okay? Thank you.
Councillor George Darling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to follow up on what Councillor Bryant said there, I think absolutely I get the points that you're making, but I think we need to remember what's the underlying reason for this. We're trying to improve recycling rates across the whole of our communities, not just in Torbay, not just South Devon. So I appreciate even if we saw a slight reduction in Torbay, but saw a greater increase over the whole of the Devon or South Devon area, surely we're achieving that objective, but absolutely we need to get the fine points of this looked into.
If there's no more debate, Councillor Billing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had hoped when there was cross-party support to this, and I'd accepted the amendment, we could have all just supported this without too much further discussion. But I think, seeing as we've gone into that, I think it's appropriate that I just expand a little bit on some of the points that were made. Yes, Councillor Lewis, green waste that goes into the HWRC is a material contribution to our recycling rate. Yes, Councillor Tyman, it is very sensible that we have conversations with all our neighbours, particularly those around Kingswear, where in order for a waste collection operating for the South Hams to get to Kingswear, it's either got to make a long journey round, driving through Torbay, or cross the ferry, and neither of those seem as sensible as a Torbay lorry doing that. And that's why I'm delighted to confirm, Madam Mayor, those conversations are already occurring. So if I may, and just to reassure members around the chambers, whilst to take on board all of the cross-party good working relations, I've been very happy to take on board this amendment. I could actually reassure members, all present, that these conversations are already going on behind the scenes anyway, and that's why I've been so keen to support this. I would highlight and just respond. Yes, Councillor Bryant, you're entirely right. There is a lot of work to do to make these conversations deliver into sensible outcomes that work for everyone, our residents as well as residents in adjoining areas. And that's why I've been very, very clear that the language in the motion we have is to explore the possibilities, because we clearly need to do the work to understand the art of the possible and go from there. And as we speak, I think none of us know what the precise answer is. So members, after that rather lengthy sort of discussion of a cross-party supported motion, I would encourage all members to support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I now move to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. I now move to item 14, Treasury Management Mid-Year Review, 2025 to 2026. Please refer to page 337. The report is for noting only and no vote is necessary. I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening. I now close the meeting, but before I do, I'd like to invite all members to join me for mince pies and tea and coffee. Thank you very much.
Very silent to be upstanding for mince pies and coffees. Note for the Mayor.